Hey, what's up? It's Brice Izyah, and this is The Pride Has Spoken. It is truly an honor to watch the growth of The Pride Has Spoken and to watch the growth of the queer and LGBTQ plus community thrive on Survivor. Not only exist, not only be there, but thriving. I absolutely love it. And from my days on Kagi on, it's truly a blessing to see what the franchise has turned into, and I love it. And I hope that it gets more gay because listen, the gays are here and we are not going anywhere.
Welcome back to the final episode of The Pride Has Spoken for 2024. My name is Grace Leeder, but of course, I'm not alone. First, I'm here with Matt Scott. Matt, how you doing?
Happy to be here. Thrilled to be here. Happy Pride. It's still Pride. We've been priding it up all month. Pride everywhere.
You do have to be listening to this on the last day, the day that it comes out, for it to still be Pride technically, but that's okay.
No,
still Pride.
Pride 365. We do Pride every day, everywhere. And Grace, we don't do it alone. We are also joined by the one, the only, Dr. Evvie Jagoda. Evvie, how's it going?
What's up? This is Evvie. I use they, them pronouns. I'm so excited to be here with you both. Did you both share your pronouns? I might have missed it.
I forgot.
I'm trying to make sure that we do this. Yeah.
I use she, her pronouns. So yeah.
Yes. And I'm Matt. I use he, him pronouns. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem. This has been such a sweet season of The Pride Has Spoken. Yeah. I really feel like every season has been special and fantastic, and this is no exception. And I think, I just am so thrilled that we get to do this. And it was a good one. And so thank you to everyone who's been listening and tweeting love and sent so much love to all the players along the way, especially Deshaun for his big coming out episode, which was just really special. So just thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and like I think it's so cool, just like between Deshaun, but also with everyone for continuing to be visible. I remember before we posted Deshaun's episode, and I teased like, oh, you have a survivor who's sharing their story and coming out in the context of this podcast. And someone was like, is it Kelly? And I'm like, Kelly is out. Kelly is engaged. But like, it's so cool that Kelly Katura especially could be so visible too in ways that they weren't fully on the show. And I love that we could have this space together to create that space, not only for these players, but also for the fans to hear those stories. And I could honestly say there aren't two other podcasters I would rather do this with. So thankful to be here with both of you for all of this.
That's really sweet, Matt. And we get to close out this season with a first in The Pride Has Spoken history, a non-survivor player. We're featuring the wonderful, the iconic Izzy from Big Brother 25. So all around, we've crushed it this season. The amazing players are just fantastic, and we thank them all for being here with us.
Yes,
yeah, it was such a fun lineup of people that we had from Jam and Kelly Katura, obviously Deshaun's episode, and now finishing it off with Izzy, which is so fun. It was a great interview. I'm very excited for people to hear it.
Yeah, I love how we can't be limited. You know, queerness is limitless. And some people might ask, like, who threw the first brick at Stonewall? I might ask who was the first Big Brother player on The Pride Has Spoken.
Wow.
So
Same level of historic history.
Well, it is history. It's history. We'll look back at this.
Queer
and Izzy
history.
Helping us make queer history here on RHAP. For sure.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Well, I feel like one of the other very exciting things that we did this season, and people were very excited about it, is that this year we have new merch. We have the Pride Has Spoken buffs. If you have not received it or been able to order yet, don't worry, they're coming. So we did a pre-order for people, and we hit our pre-order goal, which was originally just 100 buffs we wanted to get to be able to order them, and we doubled that. We got over 200 pre-orders. So the buffs have been a little delayed in getting to Derek behind the scenes, who has been a tremendous support as long as everyone else at Rob as a podcast. You should be getting an email soon if you filled out the pre-order form. You should be getting an email soon where you'll be able to order, actually like pay for the buff and get it shipped to you. Some people who filled out the form, you didn't put your email. You just wrote okay when we asked you for your email. So if you don't get one, I'm sorry. But if you don't get the email, once Derek has, we've let the pre-orders a link go on for a little while. We'll then open up to see if we have any other buffs available. I'm hoping we will. There is a chance we sold out and they're limited edition buffs, but we shall see. And I'm very excited to say that I don't have the exact number on me, but I believe we'll be able to upwards of $5,500. We should be able to donate to Evvie the Point of Pride.
That's so freaking cool. Upwards of $5,000 going to the Point of Pride. Thanks to all of you. And Point of Pride, as we know, provides financial aid and direct support to trans folks in need of healthcare and wellness care. And that's just actually unbelievable that we were able to raise so much money for them. And that's money that's going to go directly to helping trans people. So what an awesome thing. And we want to thank everybody who is going to buy a buff that is contributing to that. And if you want to just make a donation to that org as well, my dad actually did that, which is really nice and cool and meaningful to me. So yeah, it's a great org, and we're really thrilled to be able to support them so much.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And even though I'd imagine it won't be Pride Month, once the buffs get to you, like post your pictures, tag us all on social media with those posts, hashtag the Pride Has Spoken, tag RHAP. We want to see those and I'll wear our buffs together. So thank you so much for being part of that. Grace.
What?
What were you about to say? What were you? I know there's some. May the buff be with you. I don't know. If that was
I guess.
I don't know where that's going.
All right. Well, what a lovely season. I think it's been Evvie and Matt. It's always a pleasure to get to create this thing with you. I really love doing this, and yeah, it's just so fun seeing the sort of support and love come in either on the hellscape known as X or on Instagram or in the YouTube comments. It's been such a delight. What a great season, and I hope people have enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I wanted to give a big plug. If this was the first season you've listened to this podcast, we've had amazing interviews over the last 2 years. I'm just going to say everybody that we've interviewed. And if you're interested in looking at any of these, check us out. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast apps, YouTube. We've had Brice Izyah, Zeke Smith, and Lyrsa Torres, Amy, Ty, a panel with RHAP podcasters, which was super cool in episode 4 of season 1. That was actually really special and cool to hear from queer members of the RHAP community. Ricard closed out Survivor, the first season. Then we had Carla, Missy, Todd in the second season. Fantastic, amazing, ridiculous. And then, of course, this season, Jam, Deshawn, Kelly, Katora, and now Izzy. What an amazing collection. And this is all really special. So if you haven't listened to any of those, I really recommend them all. They're evergreen and ever beautiful. So check them out.
Yeah. And I think the other piece of it too that's so cool is that in the midst of all of it, we just have interspersed so many different voices. From in season 1 on that podcast or episode, there were a ton of voicemails from queer Survivor players. This season, we had a bunch of other voicemails or voice messages that came in. We had Erica opening up one episode with a beautiful message and a handful of other folks. So, so many queer people. And it's cool to know that we're like in this together, especially because I know for so many of us watching this show as kids, like, we didn't see ourselves or feel that there were others like us watching. And now, like we almost can't count all of us. It's insane. We keep multiplying.
I know. Thank goodness there was 5 Sundays in June this year.
Ooh,
so we could do 5 episodes.
Yeah. Let's mandate that. Or I
don't know if we have that much control, Matt, but we can try.
We'll try.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm very excited for people to listen to the interview with Izzy, and I think, without further ado, we'll send it over there, and then we'll see you next time.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
It is my absolute honor to welcome to the Pride Has Spoken our first ever Big Brother player coming at you from that Big Brother season that had Suri on it. We've got Izzy here, the flute dyke herself. And we're so happy that you're here, Izzy. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I'm stoked about it. Like Survivor's my jam. So I am like extra honored and grateful to have made it onto this. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm super stoked.
Hell yeah. Izzy, I have to say for myself, like so I had really never watched any Big Brother before. And then I was like, okay, here's Cerise on the show, so I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
And I got there and was like, oh, thank God there's a lesbian. Thank God. And then you got to have like the ultimate Survivor player dream of being besties with Cerise. So yeah, you're an icon. And the community is so lucky that you're one of us.
I appreciate that so much. It was wild. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know. We like to kind of just like go for it of like, you know, you, Izzy, and would love to kind of know, how do you define yourself and your queer identity, and what was any parts of that journey you'd like to share? And then, yeah, like the pre-Big Brother parts of your life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like so much of my identity is actually like wrapped up in my career, but really just like my art and my music making. And the flute, as corny as it sounds, was like really like my first love. Like I have no memories before playing the flute. So it's just like a part of my DNA, it feels like. But growing up, I grew up like, you know, my mom would be so mad if I didn't say this, like truly in the most supportive, positive household to be a young queer kid. And I always say like, it's, you know, it's proof that the world also raises us, because I couldn't have been more scared or in the closet or confused about my identity for like my entire childhood, you know? So that's like a devastating realization in some ways. And like playing the flute, there are a lot of sort of unspoken expectations of what like a, you know, quote, female flute player looks like. And I just like never felt like any of those things, you know? And like, as I slowly, you know, got more comfortable, like really like, you know, representing my gender identity and the way that I dress and look. And, you know, I just remember countless times standing on stage next to like very cis, very beautiful, like in ball gown, you know, chicks. And I'm, you know, and I'm standing there in like, you know, a blazer and like leather pants or something. So, yeah, so I feel like in some ways playing Big Brother was like my chance. I feel so proud of my identity. Someone's trying to get into my building right now. So in New York, if you can hear that buzzer.
That's fun.
But yeah, Big Brother was like my chance to like be without my flute, like just be Izzy, like, honestly, just be like, you know, the dyke that I am, you know, away from that. And so, yeah, it was like a wild experience. And I've thought about the gay and queer and like other experience on reality TV since I, you know, always. And so I think that was also definitely a driving force of like, I don't see a lot of me, you know, and that's not flattering me. That's like devastating to me. And so that was like really important. And I will say that like the community I've experienced post show, like in the fans relating to that aspect, has been like more, I don't know, rewarding than I thought, you know, I would feel or something.
You said like a million things. I want to I want to like start pulling them, because I've never actually thought about what my preconceived notions of what a flute player were like until you were like, people have preconceived notions about what flute players. Then I'm like, I think I do have preconceived biased notions about what a flute player looks like if I was to go to a show. But one thing I want to ask, like before we like really dive into reality TV, the thing you said about realizing there was an environment that would have been like could have been supportive, like there would have been no better like environment for a young queer kid. Yeah. But that, and my understanding from what you said is that you actually were not, like, when did you come out, I guess is my question.
It was like a senior in college.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then I always joke that
the like adolescent me is really, you know, for a time, you know, scratch an itch. Okay, there's the knock.
Oh my gosh. Chaotic.
Literally did say like a million things. I want to just be like, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There was a lot of meat there.
Wait. Because my cat will get this.
Nice. Okay. Did you write down the time code or?
Okay. I'll just, it's very early. It's a good reminder to do this. Yeah. So when did you, you came out when you were, senior college. To me, I certainly have this like idea of like, what could have been if society was better. Like what, I I don't think it's necessarily, I don't want to say that it's easier now, but in some ways I think it probably is. I just can't speak to what that actually experience, like the fact that like people do come out younger now. And for me, like, I think about like, I never really had the prom I really would have wanted to have, like that sort of thing.
Oh, I didn't even go. I didn't even try.
You didn't go.
You know? Anyway, yeah.
Well, that's your story. I mean, like, like, why didn't you go? You just didn't.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like, I was like just as horny as everyone else, like, and like in retrospect, I had crushes on like so many people. Like I absolutely knew what that felt like. But in my head, I was like, I don't get it. Like, yeah, I'm supposed to, everyone thinks Kelvin is like amazing. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Kelvin,
yes.
Have that. And so like, yeah, the idea of going to a dance or whatever, I don't know, like, it felt like insurmountable or something.
I totally get there's the reaction of like, why would I go through something that I know is inauthentic versus like, for me, it was more of the risk of like, oh, if I don't do it, everyone's gonna. I always joke about like, did you watch the show? And you're like, did you watch Will and Grace? It's like, no, everyone would have thought I was gay. It's like, so I went to prom so that people would be like, okay, there, Grace is at prom. Everything's totally normal and straight and cis over there.
Could I tell you a funny thing? Like, Facebook, scary place, sent me like a notification that of like a memory or something, and it's from high school, and I'm like leaning against a wall, and like this chick, I remember her, shout out to Crystal, like, and she was like standing behind, in front of me, like, and I had my hand around her waist, and it was like I laughed, but I almost wanted to cry because it was like, wow, this is like the most comfortable picture of me in high school that I've ever seen, and anyway, so that's.
No.
Shout out to Facebook for that memory, but nothing else.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like
I'm in the time zone where it's like I do not like the Facebook memories I'm getting about like 15 years ago. It's like I don't like it. Yeah, sorry, Evvie.
Do you all have this? I have that like the pictures of me up until like age 7 feel like me. Like I'm wearing a baseball hat and I'm looking cool and I'm like, yeah, that's embodied kid me. And then there's this weird trying to be cis, trying to be straight, weird skirts phase, that is like unrecognizable, and then it like loops back at like 23.
That's exactly it. That you said it. Yeah.
And that whole time you were fluting it up.
I was fluting it up. Yeah.
What is it about the flute? I know that's not what this is about, but it's about you, so that's part of it.
Well, funny enough, I think it was like I'm very like artistic in a lot of ways. Like I draw very seriously and I always like am creating stuff and like to make things. So I think that like inherently is like a part of me. But when I was in kindergarten, we had like my public school had a partnership where we had teaching artists coming to our class, and whatever their instrument was, that was part of their teaching. And I just so happened to have this like amazing woman, Tanya, come and she played the flute, and like, I mean, not to like go too far about Izzy, but like she's gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like long, flowing, curly, blonde hair, and like just amazing, and like she really is like, me and my family always joke that she's like, if there really could be a saint on earth, like it would be her. Like the most incredible woman, so who knows if it was like the flute itself, but definitely music, and also maybe just like not realizing how drawn to her it was, anyway. And so so I don't even remember that. My parents just tell me that every time she came to class, I would come home and I couldn't stop talking about the flute. Like,
the flute, quote unquote. Yeah. The flute. Yeah.
Innuendos, they start right away.
It's amazing.
So obviously you talked the thing about there not being someone like you is extremely relatable as well. And feeling like it's not like, there is the spin you could take of like, there's no one like you. And you're like, no, like there are other people like me. They just don't put them on reality TV. And so we did have this question down about like, who were your like sort of like queer like inspiration? Like who did you watch and gravitate to? But I'm then so interested in you being like, but also there was no one on these shows.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I will say like me and Paige, my fiance, talk about this all the time, this moment. Lauren Rimmer from the moment in the challenge, and she's the big guy, like she's the only one left, and she takes that thing, and they got to get these blocks down the thing, and she with her whole chest, and I I was like, damn, like that's it. Like I just want to see more of that, you know?
Yeah.
That was like a big Survivor moment. I came to watching Survivor like late, you know, so I started in 2020, you know, so I can't say that like queer reality TV people were a part of like what shaped, you know, like me growing up and stuff like that. But on like adult, like rewatch looking at that, you know, of course, like I love Parvati. I love obviously the Black Widow Brigade, which is so queer coded in every angle that it did. And like, I'm here, you know, I'm here for that. And yeah, I mean, when it comes to Big Brother, like, you know, I will stand Casey Clark forever and ever and ever, you know. That was like big, you know, for me becoming like a new Big Brother fan and everything. That felt really important, you know. So yeah, that's a couple, I guess.
Hell yeah. Really resonate with the Lauren Rimmer. Lauren Rimmer. That's I think Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it made the edit, but on my season, Jeannie, another icon, did the same exact thing with that same challenge. So gotta love our queer people.
Love it.
Yeah. And so how did you decide to apply for Big Brother, and was this was representation a piece of it? Was it something you were nervous about? Was it something you were excited about? Like how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, like in 2020, Paige said to me, like, I can't believe you've never seen Survivor. And
thank you, Paige.
Yeah, shout out to Paige. She's the better one always. And we watched season 33 because that's my favorite number. Like that's how we chose.
Oh, good pick.
About it, I was like, I don't care, blah. Like being over there, and she's like, okay, bitch, like what's your favorite number? You know, that's the season we're watching. So we watched that, and we watched 34. And actually, me and Suri always joke that that's my first season of her that I watched.
Oh yeah.
But then actually, because of her, we went back and we watched 12, 16, 20, you know, we did that. So that was like my entryway into it. And I don't know, the minute we started watching it, it was like that feeling. It was like, oh man, I don't just love this. I actually like think I kind of want to do this, you know? And I'm like a pretty scared person. And so I don't know, that itch, I didn't talk about it for a long time because I was like a little embarrassed about it. And it's like, it doesn't feel real. Like how does anyone get on a TV show or something like that, you know? But then more and more, like me and Paige, like just love to get high and like deep dive about like, you know, it takes us days sometimes to watch an episode, you know, like because we just love it. So then the sort of like strategy of it just like took over. And so that's when I started diving into, I was like, okay, well, I got to watch Big Brother, you know, and all this stuff. And so I just really got mostly deep into like social strategic, you know, games. And so, yeah, I had applied to Survivor a couple times.
Nice.
I didn't get no calls. And then I was like, okay, well, like maybe I can, you know, I applied for Big Brother and I got called like a week later. So it happened really fast. And yeah, that's how it happened.
It's too bad there's not a network of people who listen to that you could really like stretch an hour of television into like 17 hours of content each week. If only there was a place for that where we watch Survivor for 90 minutes and then actually talk about it for like 24 hours. Yeah, a week. I have this theory about why queer people are good at Survivor, and if people listen to previous iterations of The Pride Has Spoken, they've heard this a million times already. But basically it's that because queer people often are navigating the world in a way in which you're not always sure it's safe, or like we're so, I think, aware of situations and people and how people are reacting and whether or not like it feels like you could come out in this moment or not. And so you get a read of the situation, and then you're like also just like maybe inherently good at lying. It's such a blanket statement about queer people. But I've had this theory about Survivor, but you're our first Big Brother contestant. And I want to know from you, you've watched all this Survivor and then you've played Big Brother. Do you think there is a difference in the way a queer person might like approach their identity themselves, who they like the game in general, in a game of Survivor versus the game of Big Brother? A gigantic question that you now have to immediately try to answer.
I mean, I think like at like the most macro level,
yes,
it's the same. Like it's hard because there just are fewer of us, and like you know, like you can't help but be in a room and you gravitate towards people that you feel comfortable with, especially in a situation that couldn't be more uncomfortable. You know, and it was interesting because like on like premiere night, you know, we're starting to see each other and we're like going into the backyard, starting that first comp and everything. And I'm looking, it's like, oh boy, I clocked Jared right away. And so I just thought I was looking around, I was like, oh man, I don't know who's going to be my immediate click. I don't know. And that was one of the reasons, even before the comp, I was looking at Jared and like making sure I hugged him extra good. Like, I got you, you know, when he lost the comp, I was like, that's okay. Like, I'm going to be with you, you know, and then seeing Suri and put it all together. But I was frantic, I got to say, like on that first night, like looking and being like, whoo, okay, I don't know where I'm going to fall in this. And on that first night, clicks were already starting, you know, like the young people were really like hanging and all of that. And I felt very much like a floater in the house, and it was a little scary. So I think like that's like the hardest thing, you know, as awful as it says, especially like a queer presenting person that like, y'all know I'm gay, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I'm not, you know, and so I think that's like that can be a complicated position to be in, you know, one that I'm proud to be in. I feel awful for those that their queerness feels erased in the edit or in their representation on the show. That's like a different kind of, you know, difficulty and hard thing.
No, it's not true. Queers are a monolith, and all of our experiences are the exact same, actually.
Yeah. But I really feel that experience of being like looking around the room and being like, oh fuck, I'm the only obvious queer person. Like, I mean, it's just such a thing that queer people experience all the time in life. And then to have that feeling like in the first moments of Big Brother, that's so stressful and frantic making. I mean, I feel like I looked at my cast and I was like, okay, I see Jeannie. I'm like, not the only one. Then there was like, we took some pregame pictures and I wore a tie and I got a lot of like thumbs ups and stuff during the night. And I was like, okay, this is going to be kind of safe. But it sounds like you started it and you were like, oh fuck. Like that's a really scary feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. One that I felt, you know, like I felt me being maybe the first queer or out queer person that some people had met or even like shared a meal with or just like talked about queerness with. That's like something that cis, straight, you know, heteronormative people don't have to deal with and don't understand, you know, the bias that comes with not being that, you know.
Yeah. Were you the only queer person on your like, I mean,
Heisem
sure.
Blue.
Oh yeah, right. Well, like, as we were wondering in terms of like you said like, hey, I'm like everyone knows, but is that actually how it played out? Was there a moment where you did like, was there anybody who you actually did like kind of have to come out to, or you did come out to? I guess have to is I feel like the wrong, but like. Was
are you doing the like bring up Paige a lot as like a I mean, you always bring up Paige a lot.
I mean, I bring up Paige. I mean, I didn't go into it like funny enough, like having to keep a secret, but like I didn't come in like wanting to hide like anything because I'm good at keeping secrets, but I didn't want to like slip up if I was tired. So I just wanted to be me. Yeah. Like if the one thing I can control are my experiences in my life, then that's what you're gonna get, you know. So I wasn't hiding it at all, and. But there was like a moment, I don't know if it made it onto live feeds, but there was a moment in the beginning, the first week, goddamn, we just like never did anything that wasn't all 17 of us, you know, like we're just always together. And we got into this like really kind of deep, complicated conversation about race and queerness. And I did end up sharing like a lot about my thoughts about, you know, all sorts of things, anything anyone wanted to ask me, you know, and that felt like very, I don't know, it does feel weird, like just having one or even maybe two people that's who you're supposed to connect with. And it's like, well, Isen's actually quite a bit older than me. And also like a gay male experience is not my experience. It's not necessarily something that immediately will connect us. And like Blue is really connecting with the young people in the house. And that's clearly where she feels more comfortable, which is great. But so just because there's like that as an option doesn't mean you have, you know, you can take for granted how many more options for immediate connections when it comes to that other people.
in real life, the amount of time people are like, "You'll love this person. They're also queer," and you're like, "They were miserable."
I was just talking about a friend about like being set up. It's like, remember that time in your life where like your friends only knew one other lesbian and were like, "Oh man, you got to go on a date with blah blah blah." What? Yeah. Okay.
I was more of thinking, is it for the side effect of like that one person who is like not getting it? So not that you weren't, and in fact you were being so obvious, but there's someone being like, "There's something
no
about
one was like that. Luckily. I was pretty obvious. Like I don't know. Maybe my flirting with Matt in the beginning,
Yeah.
Now
That's gay coded, I would say.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Definitely. I relate to that as a gay experience. Yeah. I have to say the one thing that is obviously so different about Big Brother and Survivor is the live feed element, right? And the how are you thinking about that going into it? How much were you thinking about that as it was happening? Like, and that's just crazy.
I mean, I hope Big Brother people listen to this, but I'm sorry to the Big Brother people. I had never watched a season live before my season. Like 25 was going to be my first season where I was excited to watch the live feeds, and then my ass was in the live feeds.
Right.
I think for me, like I wasn't nervous about anything I was going to do being like, I just was like, I don't know. I'm not, like I can be like flowerful in my language or like whatever, but I'm not actually like worried about my values. So I'm not really worried about anything being aired. So I really like, and also I don't really care that it's on TV. Like, sorry to everyone. Like I don't care that it's TV, so I just wanted to game. So I really like wasn't thinking about it. And maybe some people feel differently, but like, I feel like the cameras were like, I don't know. I didn't really notice them that much. I had one camera over my bed, which you can't help but notice that, but which I talked to a lot. But other than that, it was like not, I don't know. I wasn't nervous about it. I didn't think about it a lot. Some people really thought about it, and I thought it like messed with them a little bit, because like you're just too worried about appearances instead of actually just being present in the moment. And I just I really did spend a lot of time working really hard to be just like totally present. Yeah.
Please.
No. Well, I think you probably have to in your own you have to get to a point where that like you were saying, like you wanted to be so authentically you didn't want to hide anything. And that's partially just because you were like, if I'm tired and I mess up, like I don't want to ruin my game on like I lied about my occupation or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, I can see where like I'm gonna say that like you saying there wasn't anybody else like me who had seen on the show before, like you specifically, and then you go on the show, and then to like not be your authentic self. It's like, wow, like it's funny because you're saying like, oh, I didn't worry about the cameras, but also like what a missed opportunity we would have had if you were like not being your authentic self, and people getting to see you. And you're talking about like, the interactions you've had since you've been on the show, of like how much you being on the show means to people who get to see someone finally like themselves be on the show. It's so important. So I guess like, but it also must take, like, it takes work in your own life to like get to a point where you feel comfortable with yourself. And not to say like, I think I feel comfortable myself, and also all the time I'm like, oh, maybe I wish I was like this way, like it's an evolving thing.
I feel like it's like just connecting now based on something you said earlier, your theory on like, why queerness is kind of a good trait to have. I think like how much I've spent too much time thinking about myself, like just too much time. Like I feel like I'm self-aware to a fault. And like that doesn't mean that I always make the right decisions when I'm aware of myself. I still like, I'm a human, like I'll react, but like I feel like a lot of people that go on these shows, I want like a 30 and older season of any of these shows. Like I want to see adults like playing this game, because I think it's really interesting when people are really evolved and formed, and like that doesn't mean you can't manipulate them, but it's sort of like sad to like some people I want to be like, oh my God, I want to see you play in 10 years. Like because I think you're kind of amazing, but it's like, I don't know. So that's, I think queer people have probably a leg up. I hadn't really thought about it like that, but just being so hyper aware of ourselves, actually, that's like, because I think, I think a lot of people in the house should do on my season. I won't speak for anyone else, but people that I know and lived with,
We should develop like a company where it's like coming out, but for straight people, and we like help them figure out who they are.
I would love
business. It's a business opportunity.
Great.
Yeah, well,
any money. So
well, and I think I have again. You say so many nuggets. It's hard to like pull them all apart. Like I do think like there's part of me that's like not surprised at all that you were not thinking about the cameras, because you did come off just so authentically, and also you were like the most entertaining person there, which is also like amazing that the person who was not thinking about the cameras was also so fun. I mean, we can all admit when you got out, the energy, it faded. It really did.
I know.
Also, it's so sad when you went out, but also it was so fun when you just like popped up on social media and it's like, now Izzy's here.
This is one of us now. Yeah.
I know, it's scary time, but yes, I made it.
Yeah. No, but I do think that really is a thing as well of like that the thing that helps you connect with other people is that sort of authenticity and comfort with yourself, which I just do think a queer person who's been through that journey of self-realization and like been there, done that again, and it always continues forever, but has had that experience. I do think it makes so much sense to me also that you would connect with the older people and like all these things in that regard. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I really have to say, like, I personally felt very represented by seeing you out there, like in your tank tops and your cool shorts and like dancing and stuff. And I was just like, yes, I like this person. Like there's someone on the TV that's like me. Like it's still a cool feeling, like there's you can still count them on one or two hands, the people that give me that feeling. So
totally. I appreciate it. Right back at you. I mean, seriously, it's important.
It's special. It's special. Yeah.
And to prove that they're like, if you're looking and being like, oh my gosh, someone's like me. And then also they like you play the flute, Izzy, and like, you do all this stuff that
it's right. And we're totally fucking different. Like, right. But we have tattoos and glasses and stuff. So so we're the same.
Basically, I actually can't tell which one of you I'm.
Totally.
Me either.
Totally.
Can I say the season, there was some controversy in your, just in terms of like the type of people who are on, some of the like, language, behavior, and you're like, I'm not worried about my values. So whatever I say, like, it'll be in line with my values. But then you come up across where there's some people in your season who do not hold the same values, and that's sort of the point of the show. And also, that's like for the season 1 motto of like, of these shows of like people from all walks of life, so I'm wondering how you feel like you navigate that in a world, and also in a completely unique situation where it's not like this is the same as real life, where you might call someone out on something because they deserve to be called out, but in a game we're like, well, now they might vote me out because I said they did something that I don't like, their values don't align with my values.
Yeah, I mean, like, my instinct as like a gamer is that like I love that we're stripped of everything that like makes us outside of the game, and so it's just like raw. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's like brilliant. I think that's part of it. I think that's like important. It is like there does feel like there has to be a line, and it's it is difficult for me. Like, I think about time when it comes to these games all the time, because I have a lot of opinions about the 26-day game in Survivor. Like 100 days, I think it's like hard to comprehend that amount of time. And so the human element, I've been thinking a lot about the intersection of like humanity and strategy in these games. And like the intersection of those things is where like the heart of the game exists. But the longer it goes on, right, you can't help but veer more towards humanity, and people start to weigh on you. So I think time is really like a factor when it comes to like answering that question, and I think Big Brother is a difficult one. And I also think like, just like we see in politics, the middle is often the side that tends to take over, or that people feel more comfortable sticking to. And that's the same in the house, so and sort of once again, the more, I don't know, left-winging, people like, people are not going to want to side with that. It's like, it's interesting, so it's hard to feel like others can really have a strong voice about something or someone and you can't. It's viewed differently. You know, the double standard is like the hypocrisy runs rampant in these games, and that makes it really, really hard. I think if I had to do it again, I don't think I would have targeted anyone any differently, but I do think I've learned after like watching there is something about seeing yourself doing the thing when you know what you were feeling in that moment and being like, wow, the way I thought I was reacting was not the way I was reacting. And that I'm grateful for the live feeds for that. I mean, I've seen almost my entire time in the house, you know, like.
Wow, really? You've watched like all the live feeds?
I mean, I've watched a lot. I've watched a lot a lot of it. Some of it, you know, some of it more than other parts of it. But
well,
yeah.
It's so. I mean, it's so. I mean, first of all, I think the trickiest part about where the line is that the game officially has specific lines. So, like, someone from your season was removed from the game. Yeah, and then there are the lines in which like they are drawn in the same by the people who are playing it, which is real tough. I just want to like give you some grace for like you're like, oh, I wish I reacted differently, and it's like it is not real life like how people like it is and it isn't. Like it is an extension of your life where the situations and the circumstances under which people are making decisions are heavily influenced by literally offering a lot of money to someone for making it further in the game. Like that's the incentives in which people are under, and it's like easy to say like for anybody to be like, oh, my morals would like 100% be like in check for every time something comes up. Other people are not who have not played these games. I have not played this game, so either of the games that you two have played. So just give you some credit there. Yeah,
totally. I mean, and one thing that also feels like extra tricky in the Big Brother situation is that you've got everyone together all the time. Like if you think about in the tribal phase of Survivor, there's at least chances for different cultures to take presence, right, and then bring that together. And I also think like my season in particular, it was right when the diversity casting initiative came out, right after George Floyd. I feel like everybody was pretty, on the most part, good vibes, like, and kind of like knew the deal. And I think like, and there was chances for some of that, like definitely in my starting tribe, I was like, great vibes here. You know what I mean? And I think like you got everyone together, any one bad egg that has any sort of influence in the game is going to have a lot of say on the overall culture all the time, like in a really intense way.
I mean, the lack of tribes or teams in the beginning of Big Brother to me is really like a complicated factor in the game that gets taken for granted, you know, because I think the popularity contest or the like, oh, well, it's fine. Like we're all part of the pool. That has potential to go home. We don't have to worry. I was like begging people in the first couple of weeks to just have a conversation with me. Like, you know, like, why are you always saying that I'm not talking to you? I try all the time and you don't engage. And I'm asking you to come to me. Like my vote weighs as much as your vote. Like, I don't know why you don't care about what I'm doing. Cause actually I have more power than you. Like, I don't know why you don't want to like, you know, play with me. You don't want to think about the game. That's all I want to think about. Come on, let's go. You know?
I think it's the idea of that first night too is so interesting compared to a Survivor where like I don't like it's not easier or harder, but if there's also like you have to get to work on Survivor. It's like there's stuff to do, and there's like 5, 7, or like 9 other people, and then a Big Brother game. It's like there's like everybody. I just think it's so fascinating. The other thing I think in terms of a difference that I'm interested in is you just talked about how you've watched pretty much everything. And I was talking with you about this yesterday, Evvie, was like, I think it would be really interesting to examine the way that Survivor players and the way that Big Brother players experience the show and experience the fandom. And you actually kind of, in some ways, have some of both in terms of, I think for a lot of Big Brother players who make the jury, like, they're not experiencing how people are immediately reacting to the show, as opposed to Survivor people. Like you play it and then it airs and people are watching it at the same time that it's airing, which I feel like it's its own. There are like things to consider for that. But then in your experience, like you don't know how people are reacting to what is happening as it's airing right now and have no time to like prep. And then you just come out and like of the show. And now it's like it's happened or it's happening in your case, I guess. What was your experience like in terms of like I mean, you talked about how lots of people have been reached out in terms of the representation, but like, what was that what the experience like in terms of like experiencing the show? And you said you've gone back and watched everything. Like, I don't think I could.
I mean, it was wild because I think about this a lot because now I feel very connected to the Survivor community and Survivor alums. And so we've talked about this difference. I feel like I've talked about this with a lot of people.
Yes.
And there's like pros and cons for both experiences. In a lot of ways, I'm so grateful for the live feeds of Big Brother, especially for me, like I feel a little erased from the edit. And so I'm very, very grateful to have the live feed, even just for myself, to watch it back and be like, I was there. I was in it. I was playing. I feel really proud of myself. But it's like, I got recognized at the airport.
Yeah.
The morning after my eviction, and that's wild to think.
That's
because
crazy.
I haven't seen anything, and people are like, "Are you Izzy from Big Brother?" Oh man, I downloaded your episode for the plane. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I got evicted." They
got spoiled at the airport.
Yeah, and actually,
that's hilarious.
Like, a little tangent is that I was flying home from LAX just like a couple days ago, and my gate was the same exact gate I was sitting at when I got evicted from Big Brother, and I was like having all of these like weird feelings. But I think the thing that I am sad about is not having like the community of watching the episodes together. I feel like I try to go to like as many Survivor watch parties as possible. And as much as I think it's hard, the way that Brandon Donlin, shout out to my boy, friend of lesbian, Brandon Donlin, got that standing ovation at his boot episode, I was crying for myself. I mean, that was only like 2 weeks after I got home, but I was like, wow, I didn't get any of that. You know what I mean? And that kind of support felt like so powerful. And so like, there isn't the same kind of like, to me, at least I haven't experienced it, the same kind of like Big Brother alum community that really comes together for the season because it's already like happened or something. I am happy that I got to watch it on my own time.
Yeah.
Like that feels special and sacred. But yeah, I think it's weird coming out and like not having any time to process, and people are like, "Are you Izzy? Are you Izzy? Are you Izzy?" And it's like, "Oh my god, I don't know, no."
Yeah, without knowing how they're gonna like, what's the next thing they're gonna say? Like, "I love you," or like, yeah, I hope people.
I mean, I feel it's like kind of nice. I feel very fortunate. Shout out to everyone that gave me the like exit interviews right away, because everyone was like so wonderful about letting me know that I was having a lot of positive reception from the show. And so that felt good even before getting my phone back to call Paige to be like, okay, maybe I didn't like fully, like make an ass of myself or something, so yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That all makes so much sense. And and even just like not getting to watch it with your family or what I mean? Like, it's like everyone's finding it. They've seen it, you know what I mean? And it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I honestly forgot that piece that you were like not really in the edit as much, but you were like the main character of the live feed. So it was what a terrible choice.
It feels a little tragic, but it's okay. Those that know.
Those that know. Okay, wait. Looping back, one other random difference that I was thinking about between Survivor and Brother is also like Survivor's outside. And that also, I was thinking about how that does actually like eliminate some elements of like the weird sharing a bathroom or a bedroom with people that you're kind of like, I'm the only one with my like gender identity, or I don't know. Like there's some of these like weird things in society that a little bit, the being outside, everybody's in a weird physical situation. There's a little less of that. I'm wondering, I don't know, does that seem, I don't know, how is that for you?
I mean, totally. Like a part of me, there was one moment where I was like joking. This is like very literal. I'll get like, but like, I don't know, where I was like gonna be like, yeah, you can put a weave in my hair and like put on makeup on my face and all this stuff. And like, but like, there was a part of me, I didn't ultimately let anyone go through with it, but a part of me was like, oh man, like I'm not like a doll, or like, I'm not like a weird thing that you can like dress up and then laugh at that I look uncomfortable. Like, a woman, you know what I mean?
Look how
like,
funny it is to put makeup on a lesbian.
Yeah, the fact that like getting ready and like the bathing suit photo shoot was like the most uncomfortable day for me ever. I hated it.
Yeah.
And I ultimately like kind of like hid behind Suri, like in the photo, you know. But that was like weird. And I think like, yeah, if everyone's just like dirty and miserable and hungry, like ain't nobody thinking about what you look like, you know.
Right.
I just like,
Right. No one's like straightening their hair. There's like, you get out of that phase, or
right.
know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know. Yeah, I try not to, I don't know. I work really hard just in my daily life to be just like, you know, fake it till you make it. Like just really like, I don't know, this is who I am, and people find it hot and people don't, and people like me and I have friends, and, you know, like
totally,
it's going to be okay. You know, I don't need 16 new friends. It's fine. You know,
The photo shoot, did they do, was it one group picture, or did they also do they do individual? Like, and so I'm asking this in terms of like, I feel like one of the things like,
oh, I think you know the answer. No, go ahead.
did they did
it was like a group photo, and then there were like all the dudes over here and all the women over here.
Okay.
Like
Exactly. Which is like, Evvie, do you wonder about like when the show is gonna like where they'll be like we haven't had a non-binary person who's out when they go on the show, right? So so the only non-binary people we've had, like you, who you came out after on the show, but in terms of like gender splitting tribes and like we have to have an even, the show is so like there is a way in which like I'm sure they're so stuck in like it has to be even, and then the idea that they're gonna be like and the non-binary person, if they're like, you know, assigned female at birth, and they shall be replacing a woman on the woman, right? Instead of just being like, how do we just mix up this whole thing? You know, how do we like the whole, you know, we draw buffs out of a hat at the beginning. Those are the tribes, like, you know, but they're so like, so yeah, like I'm sure that day was uncomfortable. It's because it's like, you know, they're like putting you in a box.
Their bathing suits the night before, and I was like, well, they only let me have one, and like, you know. Yeah, because they like keep some of your stuff, you know, like some of it doesn't get approved ultimately, you know what I mean? So yeah, anyway,
you're like, they're not getting out of this picture what they're wanting, like, yeah, it's
right, exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, Grace, listening to you describe that, like I'm anxious already. Like I'm literally like,
as the 50 News has been like, I'm like, sorry if they hear this, if anybody's listening, you can do it. You can figure out how to cast non-binary people on the show in a way that is like, yeah, like, you know, great, and not sticking to like old archaic forms of binary. Yeah,
totally. But it is the stressful thing where it's like when you are, you know, the only one, whether it's like you know, in any form of like different presentation, it's like there's the things that would work for me that I'm also like, I don't want that to be like how they think all non-binary people want. You know what I mean? Like, and so yeah, that stresses me out so much to think about. Like, yeah, like I personally, I'm like, yeah, I would do it women's sports. Like that is the category of sports person that I would do. But like, that's not true for all non-binary or like trans masked people or like whatever. And I don't want that to be like, that's what it is. But like,
that's why more of us matter, because
exactly,
like, you know, like that is a experience.
Yeah.
And like an experience that many people share. But yeah, of course, like, but there should just be more. And then,
exactly.
The thing you were saying about when you almost offered for them to like do your hair and do makeup, I think it's really interesting because there's a way in which, and again, it's because the like circumstances of playing a game and trying to like befriend people, where like in the right setting with the right people, I'm also willing to like, you know, we can laugh like with me in terms of I'm doing something that's outside my comfort zone. And it's so different when it's like, how is not only the people in the house, and you're saying like, yeah, I didn't want them to laugh at me for being like, you know, oh, we're like dressing me up. And then also all of them, not to put anybody, but like all of America to also like see that and how they're going to interpret it is so different.
I mean, I thought about that. Like there was a moment also where like Suri really wanted me to try on one of her jumpsuits.
Yes.
And like, of course I was like, oh, this is bad. I don't want this, you know, but it was like, that felt like a different experience. And it was like just us. And there was something like in some ways in it for both of us, I will say, in that moment. And so that felt really different, you know, but it is, you know, but after that, I thought about it a lot. I was like, oh my God, it's like, it was bringing back like a little bit of like growing up weird, like dysphoria or whatever, you know, like this weird. And so anyway, when this happened, I ultimately was just so desperately trying to bond with America and Blue and like, and I think ultimately I didn't go through with it because I was like, no, ultimately at least I know one of them is making fun of me. Like I feel that, You know,
Mhm.
you always say trust your gut, you know, and I'm like happy that I didn't, you know.
Well, I think it's also just a really good example, like for like straight and cis people who are listening. It's just in terms of like how very small interactions, and this probably happened like on if you is it within like you probably like thought all of that thought of like,
I mean,
oh,
yeah.
this is like a flashback to like dysphoria as a kid, like they're making fun of me, no, blah, blah, blah. Like that happens in like 30 seconds, and then it's like you're like, okay, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But just how much like extra pressure is that? Like the world is just not designed for queer, and so straight people, because they don't think about how much, like I always talk about, I live with type 1 diabetes, I often talk about that being like a full-time job on top of living my life, and sometimes I think like my queerness is not that much less work sometimes to be like oh, I gotta go out and I just need to take out the garbage, but like how will somebody see me if they see me, and like what will they, and I'm like that's a lot of pressure to put on myself just to take out the garbage, and you were sitting in front of cameras where millions of Americans would watch you. So
yeah, I mean, Paige, I promised Paige that I would have my belly out. Like we talked about it, it was like, you know what? No, you're right. No matter what, it's not for the people in the house. I'm gonna have my belly out. And so like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, proud that
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, that's what I going back to what you said before. I'm like, yeah, it just is it's so frustrating when there's only like one of us on one of these shows, because it's like there are so many, like you're a hot person, Izzy, and like the idea that like Izzy's not wearing like makeup, so what? It's like it's just like there's like an entire category of people that know how to read you and are like, yeah, that's a hot, cool person.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, none of them were in the house with you, like, and that sucks.
I mean, yeah. I also think there should be like just a what's it? I'm trying to think of the word, like an even spectrum in the house of like all the things. It's just better. Sorry, I do want to play again. It is just better for the game. Like it is just like better for the game. Like anyway, that's all.
It is, and like to what you said before. Also, it's like to be like, there's 3 queer people, and we've got like a lesbian, an older gay man, and like a bisexual hottie, or I don't know exactly how he identifies. Yeah, like, and it's like those are 3 really different experiences, and to be like that'll help them is just like really different. Like, yeah. More of us. That's the thing. Just keep putting us on TV. More of us together.
And if you want showmances aplenty, you gotta have more of us. That's right. Like,
if anybody has not watched, what's the show where they like
Are You the One?
Yes. And they did what are you familiar with the Are You the One all queer season?
Obviously. Yes.
Thank God.
Yes.
They did it. They were like, we did it one time as a treat, and we've never had it since. Come on, what's going on?
Amazing show, honestly. That was the
best season. Literally my favorite seasons of reality TV of all time, and that's like including any reality show. It's so good.
Queer people, we're messy. We hook up.
For real.
Like, let's go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It just is true. But did you did get you know that you're an icon, right? Once that
feels weird to like. I mean, I appreciate that. People tell me.
Come on, say yes. I know I'm an icon. Come on.
I mean, I'm like literally like, where do I get? Yeah, you are. Like, where do I get a pig suit? I'm like,
let's normalize the pig suit. Okay,
that's right.
People being like, I saw this the other. I think like recently, someone's last name was Fields on their Twitter, but because I think it's like, the Izzy Fields, like that's you. Like that's
listen. Once again, I want to play again, y'all. We got to keep the Fields at play. So,
that's right.
Okay, well, you wanna play. Also, Big Brother will be premiering pretty soon, I believe.
It will.
What is your advice for other queer players? Like, it'd be Big Brother, but maybe someone's they're probably in sequester, but heading into the Big Brother house, or they'll going to go play Survivor at some point. What's your advice for future queer players?
I mean, I think first and foremost, anyone listening, like, apply. Like, I also think like there's a fear of just like starting the process. You could end the process at any time. You could get a bad feeling and say, this isn't for me, but like nothing stops you from just applying. And so I just think like if more and more queer people apply, and it's hard to say and feel confident applying, but like, just like commit to it, I think we will see a change, And also, I don't know. I mean, like, trust yourself. You know what I mean? It's like seems funny, but like the thing you don't get in the edit or the live feed, or like you don't understand this until you play, is like that chemistry is everything, you know? And so if there are people that you feel safe with and comfortable with, like those are your people, you know, especially as a queer person coming into the show. And I think that's something, don't worry about like what the optics are of who you should or should not work with, or what you think the vibes of their house are. If you feel powerful working with someone, like if you feel like this is really a team, then like those are your people, you know?
But Izzy, not everyone's going to play with Sari.
Listen,
does your partner make you feel powerful? Like, yeah, there's Sari feels.
But I mean, in all the ways, like, does your partner make you feel like you go and have that bathing suit photo shoot? It's like that kind of stuff. It's like that stuff that you forget about because it's not in the edit. You know, like people don't see it. You kind of forget about that. You know, like
I pulled up the photo, and the fact that you are actually sitting behind Sari is quite amazing. I think just as like a metaphor, like we haven't really actually talked about Sari that much, which I think is like a little blasphemous for like a Survivor podcast. And then you play, but the fact that like Sari being like Sari being drawn to you, I think is just in itself very. I mean, I was joking about this, like celebrate queer people, but I'm also now going to celebrate an ally and Sari, that she was like drawn to you and connected with you, and then like is being like little protect of like, yeah, you could stay, like, you know, be back here, like that's what allies need to do, like
Totally. Yes, I'm also hiding behind her at the finale night photo. Like, pretty embarrassing. But yeah, no, I'm so grateful for Sari. So grateful. Like not even just on a game level, you know what I mean? Like Big Brother was hard, you know, like she didn't really love Big Brother.
Yeah.
Like, so
that's shocking. It seemed like she was having the time of her life.
So it felt like as much as she needed it to just be like people, you know, like I needed that also, you know. I needed a little balance. So yeah.
I love that.
Anything for like queer like queer fans as well. Like this is we know that obviously, unfortunately, there are some straight people listening and cis people. You know, they sneak in. I don't know how they get here.
No, that's good. Listen and love. That's great. Glad you're here. I
am also glad you're here. And the people who sent a message about what they learned from this podcast. But my favorite thing about this podcast is that people are going to listen to it and hear something that you've said today, and they're going to take that back and actually like be more themselves because of something you said. It's my favorite thing about this podcast, getting to meet people. So I'll leave the floor to you to sort of like give a message to queer fans who are
no pressure.
Just like an inspiring message to queer people.
Go see Lempicka on Broadway. No, okay. And Teeth,
that's good advice.
And Teeth, they made it into a musical. It's brilliant. No. I don't know. I just like I don't know. It's like a broken record, you know, but like I don't want people to feel like they can't just like live the life that they want to live. And I think I think we shouldn't be afraid to have like difficult conversations about this, like on the daily with people, you know, like talking about gender and sexuality and like identity is important for everyone, you know, like how do you identify as a straight person? Like what is your identity? Like what makes you, you know? I just think that's like for everyone, you know? So yeah, I guess that was like the least eloquent I've been.
I love it. It's
all day, but you know, I think like all of it is what
No, it's so true. It's so true. And like, and you will be happier ultimately. That's the thing. I feel like there's such a fear of like, what will it mean if I come out? What if I try to live my life and it will be like hard? And like, there's definitely things that will be hard for sure. And that the range is really different for different people and different experiences. And like, it's ultimately the peak of happy that you can get to when you're yourself is much higher. It just like objectively is because you're being yourself, you know?
And when you're happy, other people you're happy, other people around you are going to be happy, you know, like, you know, I think people in the house were actually shocked at how much of like, actually just like a happy person I am. Like, you know, I think that was like strange.
Because all we see is tragic queer stories of like queer people who are sad. So of course people like have this like subconscious feeling about how queer people are. But no, I'm so happy you're on the show. I'm so happy you're part of the community as what like the greater reality show community. I think it's so good. I think we also like for just like we're telling people like, yeah, go be who you are. It's also so important for the people who are who themselves to be so loudly themselves. Cause I know for me, it's like when I see someone who's like just being their authentic queer self, I'm like, oh, I could be more myself too now, you know, and they're so important. So I so appreciate you and being here. Yeah.
Sorry, my bell is ringing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, I agree. Yeah. I second all of that. Third it. Fourth
it.
Okay, one last question for you.
Yeah.
Full transparency to everyone listening. We are recording this. It's May right now. But when you're listening to this, as you all know, it's June. And so, Izzy, we wanted to know if you had any Pride plans that you probably already did by the point that people are hearing this, but anything you got excited for in Pride Month.
Got it. Well, I'm actually playing a very cool show at Lincoln Center. It's outside June 12th. This will probably be after June 12th, but yeah, it's with a couple of drag queens and it's like opera and like fluffy stuff. It'll be outside. It'll be very fun.
Cool. So that's very fun.
Proud. You know, me and Paige are planning a trip to Asbury Park. That's very gay. Cool. In New Jersey. Nothing concrete, you know, go to the parade. You know, Pride's every day. I don't, you know,
that's right.
I don't necessarily go so out of my way in June. It's hot. I'm not a summer.
Nice. Well, that sounds amazing. And I hope anyone who's listening to this got to see that amazing drag queen flute performance vibe. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Should we just end it?
Yeah, I think, yeah. Thank you, Izzy, so much. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Grace Leeder. I use she, her pronouns. You can follow me on social media at Hi From Grace and make sure you buy a buff from robhasawebsite.com/pridebuff.
Yes, and I am Matt Scott. I use he, him pronouns. You could follow me on social media at MattScottGW, and you could get a Pride Has Spoken shirt at robhasawebsite.com/store.
And I'm Evvie Jagoda. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on Instagram at Evvie Jag and on Twitter at Evvie Jagoda. And as a reminder, all the proceeds from both the shirt and the buff will go to Point of Pride. Please buy a product today. This was the Pride
has spoken.
It's so bad.
Pride has spoken. We did it.
Bad. We did.
Just because we're recording, can we just do it like one? Just say that last.
Yeah.
Line one more time. I don't know why I'm making us do this.
No, it's good. This was the Pride
has spoken.
Matt, you say it so slow.
wait, one more time.
We're done. This was the Pride
has spoken.
It's my wait, one more. I'm starting too fast. This was
the
Pride
has spoken.
Leave all these in.
Yeah, leave all these.
Leave them all in. Yeah.